Welcome to Coverage Over Coffee, hosted by AI Mutual. I am Agent Ivory, and here we talk about various insurance topics in a fun and informative way that is easy to understand. Enjoy hot coffee and delicious pastries with like-minded people that are excited about creating generational wealth for their families. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel. Here at AI Mutual, we absolutely love coffee. You know what time it is. Time for this week's Coffee Shop Spotlight. Today we are on site at Tribal All Day Cafe in the heart of Bishop Arts, Dallas, Texas. Tribal is a Chickasaw Nation owned and operated restaurant. Welcome to Coverage Over Coffee. So I actually stopped at Tribal Cafe. Super excited that I did because they actually have juices here. And so everything is amazing. I'll show you in a minute. But they also have coffee and cocktails. So if you wanted to come through, not in the mood for coffee, but wanted a drink, hey, nothing wrong with that. You could do that. Or if you wanted a healthy option, they do have the juices. Everything on their menu is pretty much vegan, but they do have a couple of options that allow you that meat option for our meat eaters out there. They use only real and premium ingredients, no added water, heat, or sugar found here. You can definitely taste the quality of their food with one bite. My favorite highlights of this cafe includes the weekly fresh flower centerpieces that was actually pointed out to me when I first got there. It was beautiful. It smelled great. I also love the great outdoor patio space, perfect for this time of the year. Excellent service. I can go on and on about their service, but you definitely felt at home and very welcome once you arrived. Fantastic, vibrant part of town. Also, I really like the fact that they have relaxing and chill music, and they even have their own playlist. That's pretty cool. So if you go to their website, you will actually see a tab to tune in so you can check out all their entire playlist for the entire year. And they have it separated by the month. And so as you can see here, great food, delicious drinks. Of course, I love coffee, but I already came there with the coffee. So, of course, they gave me some ice cold water. And then I actually purchased this juice, do their chose the chief. So it had everything in it like celery, kale, cucumber, things of that nature. Felt very fresh. So I'm actually going to give them 5 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend this cafe. Truly great vibes. So tell them that AI Mutual sent you, okay? And enjoy. Today we will kick off the Legacy series with our Imagine presentation. Can you imagine the amazing life your heirs will live based on a simple choice that you made today? We will then continue our next session by taking a deep dive into generational wealth. Finally, we will bring it home with understanding how to maximize your living and death benefits from your life insurance policy. All right, so let's get started with our Imagine presentation. I want everyone to close their eyes and breathe in, hold it, breathe out through your lips pierced very slowly. And we're going to repeat this 4 times. Let's begin. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And this last one, we're going to go really slow on the breathing out. Breathe in, breathe out. Think of the current life you have today. Do you see your house, car, family, job, pet? What is the fondest memory that you have of them? Maybe it was a family vacation to your favorite beach, seeing your children graduate college, or closing on your first home. Now I want you to imagine if someone in your family left you $250,000. What does your life look like now? Will you stay in the same house, travel more, invest more, start that business you've always been thinking about for some time now? What about if $1 million was left to you? Would you buy your children a home? Take exotic trips? Quit your job? In this scenario, this check is handed to you because you are the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. As a beneficiary, you have just received an inheritance. An inheritance equals freedom. Now open your eyes. I posted a question on Facebook at the beginning of this month, and the response was astounding. If someone left you $250,000, would that change your life? That was the question that I asked. Over 78% of the people responded yes. Everyone else kind of gave a number of what it would take for them to change their life. 16% said $1 million would be life changing for them. 4% said 10 million. And then there was 2% who was undecided. They really didn't know how much money would be enough to be life changing for them. We will focus on creating generational wealth during this series. So let's talk about the importance of insurance. Well, what does it do? What does it do? Things that you can accomplish through the purchasing life insurance is to pay final expenses. I tell all of my clients this. This is the first thing that I tell them when I see them or when we have our meetings, is that your funeral is your responsibility. We have to stop putting our death, and our burdens of the funeral on our family, our friends, our church members. We have them doing all kind of things just to pay for that funeral. So no, your funeral is your responsibility. Why is that, Nicole? Because right now you can actually purchase a life policy to have in place. So in the event you die, and we're all destined to die, right? We just don't know when. We know our birth date, we just don't know our end date, right? But we know it's going to come eventually. So you want to make sure that you don't leave a financial burden on your family. Another great benefit of life insurance is that it replaces spousal income. This is extremely important if the breadwinner dies, because you only have one person in a household bringing money. So if they die, that household is really behind. But, today's world, we have both spouses normally, making money, but that means that household is living on two incomes in most cases. So if that's the case and one spouse passes away, now that household has to be run on one income. So you want to make sure that you're able to replace the income of the spouse that passed away. Pay off debt. I would love to say that debt just disappears, but it doesn't. That has to be paid off. Children's education. So first, I always used to say when I talk to my clients is that, you want to make sure you have life insurance in the event you pass away. Your kids can still, go to college and things of that nature. But a lot of people, their kids are already in private schools, or their kids are in a lot of sports activities. And we know that these activities cost a lot of money, don't they? They travel all over the United States, sometimes globally, depending on what you do. They have all of these meets and competitions. So that costs money. And if someone passes away, in the family, that means that that student or that child may not be able to participate due to financial reasons. And they're already stressed, right, about the loss of a loved one. So we want to keep them in something that they love to do, so that way they can stay positive during that experience, during that ordeal. Pay estate taxes. So taxes on received property or money. So you're going to have to pay those estate taxes, so you can use your life insurance policy to help with that. Purchase a business partner shares. So if you're in business with someone, you may want to buy up the ownership, from deceased heirs. Okay. Create generational wealth. Leave an inheritance. And that's what we're going to talk about in our next series, the generational wealth component. All right. But this is something that's one of my favorite topics, or should I say co-topics of life insurance, is the creation of generational wealth. A lot of people don't talk about this, so we are. So what is the power of an inheritance? Inheritance is the practice of passing on private property, titles, debts, entitlements, privileges, rights, and obligations upon the death of an individual. The rules of inheritance differs among societies and have changed over time. Historically, customs of Patrimonial inheritance exists where only male children can inherit. Some cultures also employ a maternal succession, where property can only pass along the female line, most commonly going to the sisters, sons of the descendant, but also in some societies from the mother to her daughters. Of course, we know in the Bible the inheritance is patrimonial. The father, that is, the owner of the land, bequeaths only to his male descendants. So the promised land passed from one Jewish father to his sons. If there were no living sons and no descendants of any previously living sons, daughters inherit the land. Okay. So, good news is that here in America, you can pass your inheritance down to both sons and daughters. In life insurance, you can specifically list the following as a beneficiary of a life policy. You can list a person like your spouse, multiple people like your children, a trust, your estate, a charitable organization, a legal entity like your company. Benefits of leaving an inheritance: fulfilling your spiritual responsibility, ensuring your heirs do not start from zero. That is so important. I don't know about you, but like we talked about when we started this conversation of having someone leave you $250,000, they just gave you a $250,000 head start versus someone who was left with nothing. So, this is a huge benefit of leaving an inheritance. Making sure your name is remembered. Wouldn't you remember someone who left you $1 million? Laying the foundation on how to leave a legacy for your heirs. Now you're teaching your heirs on how to create generational wealth. You're teaching them about the importance of life insurance. You're setting that example that can be repeated for generations to come. Determining the right coverage amount. So, how do you determine the right coverage? Well, you will need to know your monthly expenses. If you pass away, you want to ensure your family does not have to suffer a quality of life. And most people do. So, if you're living in, a house that was not paid off yet and you did not have life insurance, sometimes you may have to sell that house, right? If you can't continue to make the mortgage payments on that particular home. So, this just kind of gives you an example of calculating your monthly expenses. If you don't already know your budget, please do that. That's going to be very important for anything in life outside of life insurance. Okay, but just using it to calculate the right coverage, you want to add up all of your monthly expenses. Then, what are your liabilities? Well, some liabilities include debt, your credit card, student loans, etc., income replacement, mortgage balance, we just talked about that, education fund for your children, and more. Because everyone's going to be unique. So sometimes, things that may apply to one person may not apply to someone else when it comes to liabilities. Now, what amount do you want to specifically leave, or for your heirs to create generational wealth for them? Again, that's going to be a dollar amount specific to the insured. So first, I like to come up with two numbers for my clients. The first is your actual number, okay? So this is going to be all your monthly expenses, and your liabilities. And you're just gonna go ahead and add those, right? Excuse me, subtract those. So you have all your monthly expenses. Let's say it came to $5,000, and then you also have, you're gonna add those, and you have your liabilities, maybe which is I don't know, another 10,000 or so. You're just going to go ahead and figure out what your actual cost is that you need to make sure that you leave. So if everything comes up to $200,000, right, then you need a minimum $200,000 life policy. But then I also have here too your visionary goal. Okay, you need a visionary total. What does that mean? Now, this includes what you want to leave for generational wealth. So if you already know for a fact that you're going to have $200,000 to cover all of your expenses and liabilities, how much extra do you want to leave to your heirs? Maybe another 300,000. So now you're looking at a $500,000 policy, okay? Or it could be $1 million. It could be 10 million. That's something that everyone's going to have to determine on their own to figure out what's the best for them and their family. But always make sure you can calculate your actual total and have a visionary total. So let's talk about this wealth gap. Democrat hopeful presidential candidate Andrew Yang stated on both the Breakfast Club and during a primary debate that black wealth will be zero by 2053. Of course, I had to research this, and there are many factors contributing to this. Black wealth has remained at 2% since Reconstruction. And that's crazy because that's a long time ago. So our wealth really hasn't changed. We lost even more wealth in 2020 when 41% of Black businesses closed due to the pandemic. Per the McKinsey and Company study, an estimated 19% of Black American families, are roughly 3.5 million households, have a negative net worth. So that's not good at all, okay? And then for those who do have some net worth, an additional 4.3 million Black households have a net worth of less than $10,000. That's not going to go very far, is it? Especially right now, since we're dealing with inflation. So in December 2021, the Consumer Price Index, which measures changes in the cost of food, housing, gasoline, utilities, and other goods, rose by 7% over the past 12 months, the largest inflation surge in 40 years. Regarding real estate, the interest rate has doubled in 1 year, from 3% to now 6%. That is huge. So let's talk a little bit about climate change. Natural disasters are increasing the cost to maintain your homes, making food scarce, causing water shortages, and more. When it comes to insurance, everyone who are property owners or auto owners, you probably have seen your premiums increase. In certain states, i.e., Florida, they have seen their premiums more than double. That's really scary. Like in 1 year, their premiums have doubled. So for their homeowners policies, if they were used to paying $1,200, now it's $2,400 a month. That could be a lot, especially when we're talking about everything else that has gone up in cost. And of course, workers' salaries have not increased at all. Also, when it comes to automation, replacing jobs, okay? So going back again to the McKinsey studies, McKinsey Global Institute predicted that 45 million Americans, 1/4 of the workforce, will lose their jobs to automation by 2030. That's right around the corner, you guys. That's up from its original 2017 estimate that 39 million people would be out of work due to automation. Okay, but COVID-19 definitely accelerated that number. So, according to Fortune magazine, the rise of artificial intelligence and by extension automation may hurt Black workers more than some other racial groups. Black Americans could lose thousands of more jobs proportionally than white workers by 2030 due to automation. The study's authors calculated the job displacement rate for the white population as 22.4%, while the African American population had a potential displacement rate of 23.1%. Although the percentage difference is small, African American workers lose 132,000 more jobs than if they had the same displacement rate as white workers. And then, of course, here again, the pandemic, healthcare costs are surging. So everything is just going up, up, up. There's no relief in sight. Okay. So you have to think of life beyond you. You have to think about your children. You have to think about your grandchildren. How will your heirs from 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, be able to pay for these rising costs? So let's talk a little bit about my favorite co-topic, which is generational wealth. And like I said, in um, the next presentation that we have, which is generational wealth, in our legacy series, we'll take a deep dive into this. Okay, but this is just really high level. So let's read. It says the biblical example of generational wealth comes from the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 22. It says, a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. So here we see a diagram. On the left, you will see you, underneath it, your children, and then underneath that, your children's children. So let's look at the right side. So you is going to be the first generation. Your children is the second generation, and then your children's children is the third generation. So as we can see here, The Bible talks about that you are responsible for leaving wealth for years to come for your heirs. Okay, so you can't look to anyone else. You have to look for yourself. Their future outlook is determined by what you do today. And this is biblical, okay? And I like how he says a good person. That's kind of implying that you're a bad person if you don't leave an inheritance for your children's children, okay? So generational wealth starts with who? It starts with you. If we want our heirs to be successful and not be impoverished by that looming 2030 deadline, we must leave them an inheritance. Now we will imagine 5 areas that we want our heirs to thrive in the near future. So the first is going to be imagine a sustainable future for your heirs. And as you can see here, I love this picture. Look at this orchard, this little grove here that we have. We want to make sure it's sustainable. We're leaving a sustainable future. Right now, we see so much instability in the market, don't we? When you go to the grocery store, prices are just rising out of control. Like the cost for eggs is just so ridiculous, so high. I always keep thinking, how much is all this stuff going to be the same time next year? You know, and then also, so it's great for you to start planting, start that farm. Even if you don't have a farm, start that urban garden to make sure that your family can eat and is not reliant upon supermarkets. Sustainability is the key. Start that teeny home. So teeny homes had a bad rep, I promise you, like maybe 10, 15 years ago. Like nobody was talking about it. How can everybody fit in a teeny home? When I tell you teeny homes are so popular right now, and it's really not even about teeny homes, it's about downsizing your lifestyle. People are finding freedom from all this technology. They're finding freedom from all these high payments, freedom from these 30-year mortgages. So even if you're not necessarily in, a 20 by 20 type of space, just downsizing what you have, getting rid of everything that's in your closet, in your garage, in your attic, just clearing up that space. People are more outdoors now. They're enjoying the simple things of life, all that nature has to offer. We just want you to make sure, again, going back with the sustainability side, making sure that you are in control, right, of your own domain. So here you see on a sustainable side, the chickens, the goats, the milk, the ponds. So you can have your own water source. Having your own water source is extremely important. Owning land is extremely important. Controlling your food is extremely important. Imagine a wealthy future for your heirs. We just how by 2030, a lot of people will not have wealth because automation is going to take over pretty much in every sector. Okay. As you can kind of see already, probably seen it through all the TikTok videos or some of the shorts on YouTube where people are out and about throughout the country videotaping at grocery stores, at gas stations where there are no people. It's fully automated. Those are taking jobs away, you know? In some cases, it's taking jobs, good paying jobs away. Also at Amazon, all these warehouses where people are used to making money, years ago. Some of our relatives, our grandparents used to work in factories, worked in the auto plants, made a lot of money, six-figure jobs. All that is being taken away now due to automation. So we want to make sure that we're leaving wealth, we're leaving actual money to our heirs so that way they can have a fighting chance. I'm telling you, life is going to be a lot different from what we see today. There will be less businesses. It'll be more of the circular economy. Please research everything that I'm saying because people are going to be shocked in 10 years when they're like, hey, where's the enterprise? Where's the free enterprise? Where's the, having an entrepreneurship mindset and then go out and start a business? How come I'm not able to do that? Why am I being hindered from doing that? Because our world is moving now to a circular economy. All right. So research that and figure out how you can benefit from that. But at the same time, make sure you're leaving wealth to your heirs in case they don't want to do that. Imagine a healthy future for your heirs. Health is wealth. We keep saying it, it's so cliche, we better start believing that. As we have seen over the last couple of years, being healthy is gold. It's worth more than having the big house, being able to travel around the world, all of that, because you can't do any of that if you're not healthy, right? You can't work if you're not healthy. You can't travel if you're not healthy. So we have to start investing in ourselves. We have to start showing our grandchildren, our children, what it means to be healthy, making sure that they're right mind, body, and soul. We want to make sure their mental health is great. We don't want them to be stressed because having stress in the body, and a lot of people are stressed due to finances. When you put stress in the body, you're killing all the good cells within you. You're shortening your life. You're not enjoying, you're not having a high quality of life as you should, right? Because you just see the world as everything is just bad. You don't see the good anymore. And that's when people start to really decline quickly. So we don't want that. We want to make sure not only are our heirs having a sustainable life, that they're able to have a wealthy life, but we want them to have a healthy life. Okay, we want them to choose health each and every single time, and that way they can repeat it and pass it down to their heirs. I want everyone to imagine an educated future for our heirs. Education, again, is the gateway to opportunity. There's a lot happening with the education here, specifically in America, throughout our public school system. And I think that parents need to just stand up and take a stand and say, hey, look, you're not delivering the quality education that is required of our children to be successful, in the next 10, 20 years to come. And so we have to make sure we imagine what the future will look like for our children. Put them, even if the school system that you're in does not supply it, you as a parent is going to have to take responsibility and put your kids in those situations or in those classes or opportunities that they need to be successful. So if they want to do something with coding, something with engineering, something with entrepreneurship, and your current area or school doesn't offer that, go online, look up those opportunities, make sure your kid is a part of that because you want to put them on the track for success. All right. And then that way they can graduate and move on to what they want to do, or if they want to start their own business or whatever have you, or a trade school, but they will be successful because you have taken interest in their future. They know you love them, they know you care about them, they're listening to your guidance and to your wisdom, and you're preparing them and setting them up for success. Again, having life insurance in case anything happens to you will make sure your children stay on track. They don't have to give up on their goals. As adults, we've had all these lofty goals when we were children, and then life happens, and then we kind of give up on those goals because we're just trying to work to make it. But are we really happy? And why would we want to repeat that cycle for our children? Okay, so again, let's give them a leg up. They don't have to be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. You know what I mean? Because they don't have to be. We have a life insurance policy. There's whole life and term life. Okay, so there's different ways and different products to be able to assist your children out, and we can talk about that if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to message me or email me. We can talk about that offline on how to better prepare your family for success. And imagine a social future for your heirs. Again, these last couple of years, everybody's been isolated. So we understand how important it is to be social. Being around friends, being around families, being around like-minded people, it's very positive for you. We're not we weren't created to be on an island by ourselves. We definitely thrive off of other people, being in their midst. And so it's just really great. Traveling again, everybody's traveling now. We miss those days, right? And so we don't want your heirs to not be able to enjoy being or being social. But guess what? All that takes money. All that takes money to be social, to travel and see the world. So we want to set them up for success and give them that opportunity. So let's start turning ideas into reality. Again, a lot of people have lofty ideas, lofty goals, and then that's it. They just sit on them and then they take it to the grave with them. We have so many wonderful ideas, cures for diseases that are in the grave. I say own your life, own your future, own your wealth, own your health, and start turning your ideas into reality today. So thanks so much for participating in our first presentation of our legacy series. We will see you next time for our generational wealth, and we'll have that available online. Thank you so much.